Alright, hello BFFs. So I wanted to do a tutorial on mason jars. So we are going to paint one. I know I did a couple process videos, but I haven't done an actual tutorial walking you through it. So hopefully we can do that today. I'm using a cheap watercolor paper, just 140 pound 300 GSM. It's a 9x12 originally, but I cut it in half, and then we are going to fold this in half. I also am using a pencil for sketching purposes, an eraser as well, and a ruler handy, and my dynamic distraction brushes, along with my Etchr lab paints. So let's get started. So after you cut your paper down, or however large you want your card, I like to measure the halfway mark. Handy dandy pencil. So this page is 9 inches wide. I am marking the halfway point, 4.5 of 9, and then I am going to just draw a line here. This is just a reference point. We're going to erase this. It's just where the fold is, but I find when I'm trying to paint right here, if I don't mark this, this isn't always centered. Like I'll start painting and it's like either way over here or it's in the middle, and then I fold the card and then the picture's folded. So this is just for me. If you want to do that, it might help you as well. But this is the front and this is the back. The front, I like to have the mason jar maybe 3/4, and then I'm gonna do some flowers in an additional video, but today we're just gonna focus on the mason jar. So obviously with a mason jar, these lines are straight, and then there's some bumps and ridges and whatnot. So we're going to use our handy dandy ruler and get an idea of how big we want this mason jar to be. So I'm marking another halfway mark. You don't have to get too technical with it, obviously. This is just me being me. This is the handiest ruler I've ever had. I love it. I don't know why I've never thought of it before. I've always had like metal rulers. And I think I liked metal because I thought it was like expensive and stuff. This is the cheapest ruler I've ever owned. It's obviously kind of like a flimsy, but it's so nice because I can see through it. So we're gonna do this part right here. These are really straight and we don't want them to be, so we're actually going to round them a little bit, coming down, and this is a sketch, and round this one down to appear round, obviously, and then the same with this one. And then comes around here, and it's a little like an oval. a very skinny oval. Okay, you can see it coming in. Then I kind of want this tucked a little bit because there's this part here where it kind of comes out of the lip, and then I want that here as well. So I'm taking away these sharp edges. And then here, I'm creating the part of the jar, the screw lid part of the jar. And then this comes in, this comes in, out. Okay. So that's a close-up. This is obviously the rough sketch. So I'm gonna erase some lines here. I'm going to erase the kind of focal lines that I wanted. I don't need them anymore. And then sharpen them up of what I want to keep. So this comes in, and then this is the screw part. Starting the corkscrew. And it comes down. And then this is the section of the jar that meets the rest of the jar. And then this part is rounded. And then obviously that's the straight edges. And we'll try to do this oval again, just darkening it up slightly so you can see it. It's very skinny. So something to think about is this part right here should be filled up with flowers. In the second video, that's what we're gonna do. So we're not gonna paint this part today. I just want to paint from here down to give the jar shape. So before we jump into painting really quick, we want to create our color palette and figure out what blues we want to use. So for starters, I like to get some blues queued up that I think would look lovely lighter colors. So this is sky blue in the Etchr lab, and obviously this looks very, very bright right now. But if I dip it down into my water and pull back a little bit, when I apply it to paper, it is a lot lighter, right? So, and then if I do that again, dip it and pull back, it's even more lighter. So we can do a couple different layers that way. So we have that blue, which is very, very nice to make it a bright, at the sections of the dart that maybe we don't always see. Like maybe this side right here, some kind of shadowing, but it'll still look bright, like we're seeing through it. Let me see, I'm trying to think what other colors. Let me see. That's a good one for our shadows, but it is, it's a different tone, I think, and then it also, it's kind of too dark, I think. Or too blue, maybe. Too blue. So I think I will apply brown to it. I'm going to try my light brown here. And yeah. Just kind of mutes it a little bit. I think that looks more like a shadow that I like. Yeah. So this light one, and then this one for the shadows. I like that. So maybe let's build this up a little bit more so we have it available. Again, we're going to pick up the light brown to mute it a little bit. Oh, we lost the blue. We're going to need some more blue. That's fine. It's the fun thing about watercolors is they're very flexible. Let's pick up more of sky blue so we have it available also. Again, we're going to mute this quite a bit, the sky blue, by adding water to it. So then gray right here, I've already mixed it. I'm going to mix it to show you what how I do it. But I use my Prussian blue and my dark brown to create this gray. So equal mixtures, I think. We use the ultramarine and the burnt sienna to make this dark blue. Prussian blue down, and we're going to add the dark brown to it. Dark brown. And we have gray. So I know this looks extremely dark, but it's still very blue in tone. So it's going to look great on our jar. Plus, all we have to do is add water to it. And it tones it down. Add water. And it tones down. Okay? So I think these are our three colors. This very washed sky blue, the ultramarine and burnt sienna, and our gray that we made out of Prussian blue, and dark brown. Alright, so first we're going to use the white of the paper. So we're not coloring in the entire jar. We're going to take the light sky blue, we're going to water it down, and we're just going to hit the parts of the jar that are going to appear to give it shape. So for the most part, all of this is colored in, right? There's a lot of shape going on here. Then we'll leave it. And from here down, we have shaping right here. And then we're skipping some of this lip. And then we have shaping over here. There's obviously shape coming down. Pick up a little bit more. Remember to wash it. And then shape coming down. We're trying to keep that curve going. Then we have to decide where our water is going to be at. So again, we're going to pick up some of the blue, wash it out, and figure out how far we want the water. Maybe a little bit higher than normal. I usually do it a little bit lower. And the water is going to create the oval as well. And then this is colored in a little bit. There's color, figure out where we want our light source, color here. So we're gonna continue this shaping back up here, and we're just going underneath this ridge, creating some shadows. And we're not going all the way down because it's gonna lighten back up again. So we're just kind of just doing right underneath here. And then we're skipping this part because that part is lighter than the other two. And go back, this is dried quite a bit, so go back and do another layer. And this time we're going to do it with our shadowy blue that we came up with. And the shadowy blue is going to be washed down as well. And we're going to bring it across. And kind of bring these out, keeping with the shape of the jar. And it's getting lighter as we go because we're running out of paint, and that's just what we want. It looks really nice. We can see the shape of the jar. It's not extremely dramatic. We're using the paper behind it, the white. We'll let that sit. And then we'll pick up some more of our shadow of blue and add some down here. So this part of the jar is the absolute base of the jar. So we're adding that in. And then we want to accent the other part of the jar. And we're not making it crazy dramatic because this is supposed to be see-through. We are seeing it from the other side. So we're just kind of lightly bringing attention to them. And when we erase the pencil, that'll be less dramatic. Kind of want to add a little bit more dimension. So I think I'm going to pick up some light, that sky blue, wash it out, and apply it to more shaping. Bringing more attention here. Once the paper's wet, you can kind of keep going. Let's add more to this water. If you can see, I'm leaving this tiny white line so I can see the water mark and where it's at. But I can also add some shadow to it by going around here and across. So the paper is still wet, so these are kind of blurring out a little bit, but this part was pretty dry, so this one, the bottom line is not blurring out and it's more defined. Kind of looks like there's water in there, huh? I'm gonna add just water to this and then add more of that blue. And then I'm leaving this huge area white. Again, it's creating that shiny part, iridescent part of the glass that we can see through. Add more water. And then I kind of add water to those edges and soften them out. I'm gonna retire my 6 for a sec and pick up my 2. With my 2, I can get a little bit more detail with that finer point. So I'm gonna go back and do some more shadows. We're not gonna wash this out as much. And we're gonna add it to these sections here. Kind of bring them out a little. And section I'm just adding water this time and softening those edges. Just a little bit of water. Pick up some more. Do the same thing down here. This is kind of like a little triangle going on. It's right here, and then the comes to a point. Just under that. I want this one very fine. I kind of just smear it just a little bit downward, but not as much as these sides, because the sides are where the most shadows are, if you can see that. So it's creating more shape. I'm gonna add a little bit more shadow here. A little bit here. And then maybe some right here where this shadow is. But this one isn't as noticeable because the ridges are there. So I want to try to go on this opposite side. This is going to stay the way it is because it's closer to us, but I want to go on the other side of the ridge now, just very lightly. Just very lightly, and make this come forward. Now that I've gotten, now that this is dried, I want to make it a little bit more dramatic, I think. It's too soft. My water's good. I want to keep it like that. So I have how these lines are appearing. I want some down here. I want them to be light, so I'm going to add some water here because I want them to be kind of blurry and light. And more shape in these corners. So now we're going to get into our gray shadow, or even more defining. So again, we're gonna get this accenting the base, the darkest part of the jar. Accenting the back of the jar. Bringing attention to those tucked corners. Very lightly add some shadow to the water. Going to outline the jar. Darkest part of the jar. To what our eyes see first is the shape. There's not much water on the brush. I don't want it to bleed. It's not extremely defined or detailed, but I don't want it to bleed out because I'm keeping this white area, creating these shiny spaces of the jar. And then for dramatic purposes, we're going to add a section here, and this is just showing the shape of the jar. Just bringing more attention to those curves, but we are still skipping that white space. There's a little bit of more shadow over here coming out. Down here is some shadow, but I want it blurry, I think. So I'm gonna add water first and then dip the brush down. And adding that across. Dry my brush on my rag and kind of scoop this back. More detail. Just more shadow. Kind of subtle. So then we also have shadows in these ridges up here. And this is on dry paper. Water is it's extremely fluid and it will do what it wants to do. So if I want something detailed, you nix the water. Don't use a lot of it. But also know that if you don't have a bunch of water on the brush, that it will be a darker pigment. So that is our mason jar. Super simplistic. It's not an exact replica, obviously. Like, it's not exactly the same, but it's just a fast, easy mason jar using just a simplistic ruler and pencil, adding some color to it to create the shape. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give Brush Fantasies a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try to do more tutorials and hopefully maybe some ASMR. I'm not sure yet, still kind of getting in the groove of these things. Go ahead and post in the comments below what you would like to see. I am a wannabe illustrator, and so I cannot draw perfectly, but I will do my best in what little skills I do have. That is the point of this channel, is to learn together, have fun together, create fantastical things, hopefully someday have tutorials as well as things that inspire you to be creative and give your mind some peace, as well as your heart some happiness. I hope I inspired you to create your own mason jar. If you do, I would love to see them, so go ahead and message me on my Instagram or my Twitter. We will see you again with hopefully another tutorial. Bye-bye.